So, doctor, you decided to give your husband coconut oil. What were your
Hmm.
expectations, and what did you see in really a relatively short amount of time?
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing in the patent application, their pilot study, they showed that people after the first dose had improved scores on cognitive testing. It was something like 5 out of 7 tests that they did. They had
Mm-hmm.
improved scores, and they um, so. But the other thing too was that people who were apolipoprotein E4 negative were much more likely to improve. The people who were positive for that gene as a group did not improve. And Steve, I knew at that point, was positive for that gene.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really expect anything. I didn't expect any improvement for him. But I felt like, what do we have to
Mm-hmm.
lose? And basically, what happened, he went to the first screening. This was like at 1 a.m. that I learned this
Okay.
information, and the screening was at 9 a.m. the next morning, so I didn't have time to run out and buy coconut oil.
Sure.
So we went to that screening, and he um, still didn't qualify. He got a score of 14 out of 30. He qualified in every other respect, but not that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the interesting thing that happened that day that ties into the long story, the longer version, is that she had him draw a clock too, and it was the clock test for Alzheimer's. It's a very specific test that can kind of see where a person's at, mild, moderate, severe,
Mm-hmm.
based on the test. And he drew a few little random circles and a few numbers, and it really wasn't organized like a clock. And that was a bit shocking for me. To see, and she told me that she felt he was on the verge of severe Alzheimer's. And I myself felt that he was kind of on a downward spiral at that point. So on the way home, I thought, what have we got to lose? I'm going to go pick up some coconut oil. So I made a big detour about an hour away from where we live to the only place I had ever seen it, and it's everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't know that at that point, and picked up some coconut oil. And when I got home, I researched coconut oil, had to kind of do a little biochemistry 101 refresher, like which are the medium chain triglycerides, and I
Uh-huh.
was able to find a fatty acid analysis breakdown. It's on the USDA website. And I figured out that coconut oil is almost 60% medium chain triglycerides. And from the dose that they were using for this medical food, I was able to figure out how much coconut oil to give Steve,
Uh-huh.
and that turned out to be a little over 2 tablespoons,
Okay.
was equivalent to their dose. So the next morning, he had a screening scheduled at 1 in the afternoon, and for breakfast, I gave him a little over 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. I put it into oatmeal
Mm-hmm.
because coconut oil is a little bit solid at room temperature,
Mm-hmm.
and he ate it without any problem. I actually had a little bit of indigestion myself. I took it too. I thought, I'm not going to make him take
Sure.
something that I won't take. And his screening was scheduled for 1 in the afternoon, and on the way down, I tried to remind him what the day of the week was and the season. He couldn't even pull the word spring out.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't remember the word, and I really didn't think he was going to do any better. And when we got down there, they took him away, and he came back in the room, and he didn't really feel like he had done very well in the test. But a nurse came in, and she starts taking his blood pressure and talking about drawing blood. And I said, what's happening? And she said, well, he scored an 18, and he actually met the criteria for the study. So we were overjoyed.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know at that point if it was the coconut oil, good luck,
Yeah.
prayers, what it was exactly, but decided that we would keep the coconut oil going. And just researched everything I could get my hands on about ketones, medium chain triglycerides, coconut oil, gave him a little over 2 tablespoons every morning for breakfast. So I measured it out and then started cooking with it the rest of the day. I just started substituting it for other things in the diet. And what I found, in addition to the improved score, was that he was more alert in the morning. He used to come out very sluggish and not very conversant in the morning, and he couldn't find remember how to get water out of the refrigerator door, and confusion about utensils and things like that. And he just came out with a lot more energy and more animation in his face, more personality, joking with me, could find the water. These kind of things started happening. And about the fourth or fifth day into it, we talked about how that our life had changed for the better. I mean, he felt so much better. And he said to him it was like the light switch went on the day he started the coconut oil, that a fog lifted. And he really felt like he had gotten his life back and had hope for the future. He'd been quite depressed up to that point.
So you continue to see improvement over the weeks and months. What happens when, ultimately you're going to forget a dose or something's going to happen, travel appointments or something. Did you notice anything on those days too?
Yes. We did have a couple of occasions like that. One time he had fasting blood work, and the line was so long that it was noon by the time he had gotten his dose of coconut oil, but he was very shaky and he felt a little claustrophobic, and he had trouble, his tremor. He had a tremor that had basically gone away, and that came back, and just more confused. And 20 to 30 minutes after we gave him the coconut oil, then he almost like sighs, and the tremor goes away, and he can think more clearly. So we had a couple of occasions that we saw that happen. So it literally acts like an energy, and if you don't have it, it's like if your tank runs out of gas, your car doesn't run. And it was almost something like that we were seeing.